Before we begin, I want to quickly explain a small but important change to how this podcast works. Up until now, many of you will know that 1 in 3 episodes sat behind a paywall. I'm moving away from that model. From now on, the first half of every main podcast episode will be free for everyone. These conversations remain open and accessible, and that's important to me. For those who choose to support the show, the second half of each episode will be reserved for paid supporters. This is where the conversation often deepens, and it now includes a live interactive segment where supporters can ask questions of my guests and of me. If you value this work and want access to the full conversation, the ability to ask questions, and to join our private Telegram community, please consider becoming a supporter. Your support keeps this podcast independent, uncaptured, and alive, and sponsor and ad-free. Welcome to the Doc Malik Honest Health Podcast. This is where we have real conversations about health, politics, economics, and the world around us. Conversations you probably will not hear anywhere else. This podcast exists because of listeners like you. It is independent, reader and listener supported, which means no corporate sponsors, no pharmaceutical advertising, and no editorial interference. If you value honest conversations and want to support this work, the best way is to subscribe via Substack or Spotify. You can also make a one-off donation to my Buy Me a Coffee. And if you're looking for personalized guidance or clarity around your own health journey, you want a second opinion or get some questions answered, then please book a consultation with me. I'd love to help. Visit docmalik.com. Okay, now let's begin.
You are listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or his Substack. Or simply buy him a coffee with a one-off donation, links to which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get on with the show.
Every 3 months we'd have a sort, and they would choose, things that they wanted to give a little holiday to, and they would put them away, and then they'd bring other things out, and the joy that they got from, oh, I'd forgotten about this, and wow, and then also it gets the brain thinking again, oh, we could do this, and we could do this, and they play differently. And then we'd have another round after 3 months or 6 months, whenever it was, and they would then go, oh, I don't need this anymore. I want to share it with somebody else. I'm going to give it to somebody else. Or I think this person might like that. So all those sorts of things. And also by having fewer things, getting them used to what they take out, they then put away at the end of the day. And that's very calming for them. Clutter creates, this is what I observed with my kids when there was clutter everywhere, which everybody has in their homes, or I did when times before I got into doing this practice with the kids, there'd be stuff, and we were doing houses up and stuff, and the mess, and you feel the energy of it, you feel the pressure, and it's very stressful. And when we started doing the clearing, you immediately feel there's order in the house. So yeah, you have that one drawer that you shove all your stuff in. Once a month, every 2 months, or whenever it is, get it all out and sort it. And that goes for everything, really, little and often. 10 minutes a day with everything, I think, in life magnifies up to a big change.
I agree. Well, you just helped me rearrange the books behind me. Thanks.
Now, I'm not an interior designer, so someone might say, oh, she's not done that right, but it's more organized than it was. And you can change it. You might, look at some things and go, oh, someone's designed it like this, I like that, and you might do it.
It makes a difference.
It does.
You're right. When you can get just stuck in little old things and start neglecting things, and I guess that's the blockages, and the body's no different. You get blockages in the body.
You do.
Blockages in your mind.
And just because something old doesn't mean that it doesn't bring you joy, and it might be the oldest thing you've got that you treasure, and you just touch it or look at it and it fills you with joy. So you can look at some architecture from the past, and you don't even have to say a word, but invigorates you. You go, because you know it's beautiful. It's got a frequency and an energy. And that's what we need to be bringing into as much of our life as we can. It's not about the most expensive or the most glossy. It can be, the other day I was walking with my husband and bluebell, snowdrops, spring's coming. It costs nothing. And I got a little, yes.
I love the fact that days are getting longer. I got so happy this morning.
This week's really, you've noticed it, hasn't you?
Oh yeah, and it, we didn't have that dark morning, and this blue sky out there. I mean, it's nippy, it is cold. It would have helped if I had turned the heater on last night. Sorry about that. And oh yeah, thanks for Francesca recommendation.
I just
she
send
was
things,
amazing.
Yeah. It's the energy, isn't it?
Yeah. How does it feel becoming a witch? Because that's what's happened, hasn't it? Where's your witch hat?
It's through doing Marianne Naturally and some of the things that I've done in the last year that I've realised I was a witch. I was one of those women healers in the villages that they burnt at the stake.
In your past life?
In my past life, I was.
Do you believe in reincarnation now?
I believe, I don't know if it's a belief. I don't know enough about it. My mind is open to, I don't know. So how can I say it is or it isn't? And that goes for lots of things. But I like the idea of it. I like the idea that death isn't to be feared. We've been, and of course, when you lose somebody, you are going to miss them with such an intensity. But if you believe or you feel that they've gone on to something bigger and better, I think we're potentially here to learn lessons. I think there are potentially other planets where there are other beings. I can't believe, especially the state we're in at the moment, I can't believe we are the most civilized beings that are around. I mean, we're a downgrade.
Imagine there's like billions of other flat earths out there. And we're just one experiment, and there's like these beings looking over us and inspecting each flat earth and seeing what we're all getting up to. That's just a joke.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do question whether the earth is round, because just common sense says to me, when you're on a plane, you can see for miles and miles and miles and it's flat. Does that mean the earth is flat? I don't know. I'm not going to hang my hat on it, but it doesn't mean the earth's round either. So maybe, I don't know.
It's very confusing.
I think there's potentially lots of the planet that we've never seen, we don't know about. And I think potentially some countries that we're told are a certain size are maybe bigger or smaller than we've been told. But I'm just, questioning.
I think we're both on a very similar journey. Do you not think it's roughly the same time, or were you a little bit ahead of me?
I think I was. I can remember things like when the kids were little, I was questioning, things like hydrogenated vegetables and things like that. But I didn't question enough to not vaccinate my children, which, I've apologized to them for. And but
I mean, the journey though, and not just realizing all this kind of stuff, but like when you look at pictures of you from 10 years ago, you look very different from now. Like, you look younger and healthier now than you did 10 years ago. I think I look healthier and younger than where I was 10 years ago.
Not even, for me, a big change was the fasting. And that I only started that 5 years ago. It's been one hell of a journey. The way I think about things, the way I do things, the people that I have in my life. It's been crazy. But it's also, with each stage, in some ways, it's been, you almost have to grieve parts of that person that you thought you were, but I now realize that person that I thought I wasn't me. You know, I was a product of my upbringing and societal, what were considered societal norms. And I had squashed me into a little box. And I'm just getting to know me.
And you're how old now?
I'm 60, baby.
It's a long time to get to know oneself.
Bloody right.
Isn't it crazy?
It is crazy. And, you know, I mean, just the last...
Bloody right.
Bloody right, mate. But the last couple of months, I actually had to take some time away a little bit because, you know, after going on the plant medicine journey last year, Monsieur Malik, it kind of opened me up a bit. And with each layer that was exposed, you have this rawness that is really hard to sometimes face. And the the ego, the neocortex says, no, you stay safe. I'm here to protect you. You don't go looking down there. And I'd had so long living like that I was like, no, you know, how good or bad it is, I want to know who I am. And so there's been that, you know, last year was lots of different ones of that. And then shortly before Christmas, there was, I think I'd got down to the bottom layer where the really, the real stuff that I'd hid away to protect myself.
That's all childhood stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's all parents and...
Yeah. I mean, it's not all child, you know, teenage and young adult things happened. And, yeah, and I was always happy and reliable and dependable and all those sorts of things, which I am that, but I had to protect myself. And so I put myself in that box. And I was very lucky to have had a session with a lady, and she brought something up that I'd never told anybody, not my husband, not my sister, anybody. And
can you share that?
I don't think I really want to. Not just because it's all, everybody's experience is relative to them. All I would say is that it ripped me apart, and you know, I cried like a primal cries like I've never cried before. And you know, I felt nauseous. I felt completely discombobulated and out of sorts, and just didn't want to see anybody. And all I would say to people is, it is really scary, but I'm coming out the other side of it now. And there's so much in life. If you can face those things, you get a reward. And it's no one's trauma is any greater or lesser than anyone else's, because it's relative to you. And listen to your inner voice, and your ego will be saying, no, don't do that, I can't face that, don't, it's fine, you don't have to do that. But actually, when you're ready, do it. That's what I could say.
It's like you have to let it, as painful it is, let it just pass through you. Yeah,
pass through, and don't be afraid to hold people to account. And you know, I mean, over New Year, I was somewhere where I could walk out into an estuary, and because it's so windy and exposed, I could scream and scream and scream, because I don't really like screaming.
I can't imagine you screaming.
I do scream sometimes. It's the Greek in me that comes out. Not that often, but I screamed and cried, and shouted and said things and, you know, and just released. So, you know, do that.
Yeah, I a supporter of mine and a friend from Australia reached out to me saying, you know, I've been crying. You know, my husband's been diagnosed with cancer. I don't know what to do. Can't sleep. So I rang them. I said, it's fine. Cry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is great. Let it all out. Like, the worst thing you can do is just bottle it up and pretend everything's fine. A lot of people do that. They just put on a brave face. I don't think that's healthy for
Especially men. You know,
Especially men.
You know, men are encouraged, you've got to be strong and stoic and all sort of thing. And I did read somewhere that there's some chemicals in tears, especially when they're from stress or sadness, that are very healing.
Really?
Apparently. You know me, I'm full of these bits of
woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
But you weren't always woo-woo. And like, have you found like the past life, your past friends and you just like changed, like moved on? Like, I've got a completely different social circle now. It's quite, you know how you're telling me like get rid of all the old stuff and the clutter and all that, and it allows you to bring in new stuff. That's exactly what's happened. I've literally cut off.
No, I didn't say it allows
people.
you to bring in new stuff.
All right, what does it do?
It allows you to appreciate what you have.
Okay.
And it gives you space to see if you want something new or you need to do something different.
All right, create space.
Create space.
That's it.
That's what it does. And, you know, I, like so many of us, the last 6 years, a lot of my life that I had before 2020 was decimated. And I was, I didn't have a group around me. So I was incredibly isolated. And even in my own home, I was the batshit crazy woman. And I did lose so many friends that had been in my life for most of my life. And that's sad. It is sad. And it's not a case of, you know, I don't want them in my life anymore. I would love that. However, they feel very differently, or they live their life very differently to me. And to be fair, my delivery of things in the early 2020s was, I was too full on. I just wanted to rescue and save everybody, because I saw in 2020 that this wasn't a virus. It just didn't make sense. You know, my understanding of health and whatever, it's just, no, this didn't make sense. And then when you find out that, was it the 2 or 3 days before we went into lockdown, Chris Whitty and Patrick Vallance had downgraded COVID to cold or flu. And you go, hang on a minute, you know, and you're trying to tell people, but people are like, stop it, the government wouldn't do this, or, you know, and I just pushed it down people's throats, and I pushed people away. I did, you know, I take responsibility for that. However, you know, in friendships, you have those times when you support somebody more, or they support you more. And I'd listened to loads of friends talk crap over the years, and to them, I was talking crap at that time. And
but what you were dealing with, right? So I had, of my 2 guests yesterday, so Francesca was the last minute one, because she doesn't live anywhere near London, and she was actually abroad. She'd flown in and she was going back up north. And when I spoke to her, she was like, oh, actually, I'm passing through. I'm quite close to London on this day. And I was like, oh, already got a podcast that day. Oh, do you know what? Fine. Just
do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. Because it's so much better in the studio. And the morning podcast was Jason Christoph. And
I followed Jason.
So you know Jason, right? So he's the mind control guy. And he broke it down. He goes, look, Ahmed, because I said this, why is it so difficult? He goes, people have been mind controlled and literally programmed since birth, through the education system, through everything, to be obedient, to obey authority, to believe in the government, all of this stuff. And it's a hard nut to crack. You know, you're talking about decades of mind control and indoctrination.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, they've all been MK Ultra. And, you know, you come along then, especially if you come across emotional, and going really contrary to what their official narrative is, that's going to make this person very uncomfortable, almost akin to pain. And it doesn't matter what you say, the logic, the reason, the truths, the facts, they will be put into such a painful position, they're going to run away from you. They're going to recoil. And that makes sense to me. And the problem is, it takes a lot of effort to break that down. Like,
yeah, and if you look at how the media was at the time, globally, Build Back Better, I forget the three words.
Safe and effective.
Yeah, so, you know, and the colours that they used, and
Red
all
and
those,
yellow.
and all those sorts of things. And even when it went onto the Ukraine war, oh my gosh, I went into a hardware store, and suddenly, you know, the plastic bollards that are orange and white, they were blue and yellow. And all the things were blue and yellow, and when you see it, it's very difficult to unsee it. And at the time in 2020, I can't remember the timings of things now, but the internet was a very different place, and you could research. And I went down this rabbit hole, this mine shaft, of seeing so much of, you know, JFK, the moon landings, adrenochrome, the child trafficking, Pizzagate, how apparently every prime minister, bar one in America, they're all related. You know, things like that, and depopulation agendas, chemtrails, you know, Georgia Stones, just stuff. And my brain was, you know, I was a mum, you know, at home, and you know, I was working in relocation and lovely little life, and suddenly, so, and people, I can't remember what it was, but I then saw a video with John O'Looney, and he was talking about something's not right, and I didn't know who he was, but he was close by, and I was so lonely, just so lonely, so isolated, and I rang him, and he said, so talk to me, what do you know? And I started to tell him what I knew, and he went, oh my God, you know all that? And he said, I think you should join this group. And I didn't even know there were groups, because I was just on my own. And he sent me a web link, a Zoom link to this. It was 3 times a week, and it was Stephen Foster. And the stuff they were talking about, and they were talking,
Dr. Stephen Foster.
Yeah. And you know, so, you know, Pierre Corey was on there, and all sorts of people. And then one day, Sukrit Bhakti, Dr. Sukrit Bhakti was
By the way, it's Frost. I just
Frost.
I was
Sorry,
like,
Frost.
He's my mate. It's not Frost.
Yeah, sorry, Frost. sorry. Yeah, that's another thing. You know, there's so many different people that I've learnt about or spoken to, or, you know, read their research and things like that. And, you know, listening to people talking about the military stuff, and then Dr. Sukrit Bhakti was on there, and he started talking about the vaccines. And that just elevated my fear to just, you know, I didn't have those skills to deal with that kind of knowledge. But
you can see why now people don't want to wake up, and they want to pretend everything is just hunky-dory.
There were times when I used to think, why did I see this? Why me? What made me see it? And, you know, ignorance is bliss.
I felt like that when I first came across adrenochrome. I was like, oh man, it's too much.
Yeah, that's a biggie to talk to people about. And yeah, it's and it makes you look at life in such a way that this is real, because can people really do that? So yeah, it was a challenging time. I mean, looking back on it now, I'm grateful that I am where I am, and I am aware sometimes.
So listen, same. We've all got our own journeys, and, you know, awakening journeys. We're still awakening.
Absolutely.
Dark times, yeah. But like, are you still living in fear? Because, like, you know, just imagine back in 2020 talking about digital ID and 15-minute cities. That was conspiracy talk. Talking about chemtrails, that was conspiracy talk.
15 minutes, well, Oxford being a 15-minute city.
Digital currencies, that's programmable currency. That's complete conspiracy talk. And now, like, it's conspiracy fact. It's conspiracy reality. I mean, it's just been green-lighted. Oxford is going to be this little 15-minute. It's like, what the hell?
That's less than, because they'll have 100 passes a year, which we knew about. You know, they were talking about that, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. So we knew about it. That's less than 2 a week. What are people going to do when they have to start getting fined? And, you know, the amount of...
So just for people who don't understand, who are in a different country, so Oxford City is going to be broken up into six areas, and you're meant to just stay in your little area. And if you want to travel outside of your area or to another part of Oxford, you're going to have 100 free passes a year. And if you go more often than that, you're either going to have to pay a lot of money or be fined, or something's going to happen. That's it, isn't it? It's like your freedom of movement is being restricted.
Now, in theory, it's a good idea if you're in a city that you have everything you need within a 15-minute walk. Sounds idyllic, but it doesn't. So, you know, people are going to be needing to.
And I don't think it even theoretically does sound great, because what you're saying is, you know, it's all right to live in a ghetto. I don't want to live in a ghetto. I don't want anyone to tell me where I need to shop or where I need to live and where I need to work and what I need to do. I don't want any authority to tell me. I might choose to stay where I am and not leave the village ever. That might be your choice. That's my choice. I might be the kind of person that just wants to travel all the time and go to a different city or town and visit my family and my relatives. And I'm just, you know, roaming around. I'm a roamer. I don't care whether you want to stay put in your little wee caravan and not leave or travel. Like, no one should be telling me anything. I just want to pause for a moment, because conversations like this are exactly why I started this podcast, to explore ideas openly without censorship or corporate filters. If you're finding value in these conversations, becoming a subscriber is the best way to support independent work like this and help it grow. And many listeners eventually realize they want to go deeper and apply these ideas to their own lives. That is where my consultation service comes in. It's a space where we can explore your situation one-to-one and bring clarity to what can feel often very overwhelming. It's extremely difficult to navigate the healthcare system. So if this resonates, you can find everything you want at docmalik.com. Also, if you've got a moment, check out my affiliate page there. Right, let's get back into this conversation.
Well, when you look at the UN Sustainable Goals or Agenda 2030, you know, they state very clearly, and it was there in 2020 for people to see and before, you know, we will not have cars. We will have one flight, short flight, every 3 years. I think is it 3 articles of clothing a year we will be allowed to buy?
Is that what it says?
Yeah, and they talk about no meat, no dairy, no fish, that kind of thing. And, you know, and with what they're doing or wanting to do with the energy, they're wanting to take us back to the Middle Ages. You know, in the data centers.
You know, when I hear you say that, I know all this, but it just sounds so freaking insane. Like, it's like even me. Can you imagine just a normal person off the street listening to it? They'd be like, "You are a complete freaking crazy person."
Yeah, I mean, I don't live in that world so much mentally anymore. And you know, I remember when I would say to people, get rid of the NHS app. Don't download the COVID app. That's the precursor to the digital ID. That's laying the infrastructure. And
tracking you. The phone's pinging, telling you, oh, you're 6 feet in proximity to another. Just stay off it. Don't let them track and trace you.
Well, you know the 6 feet.
Complete made up.
1.80.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's because 2 meters apart, wasn't it? You had to be. That's because our frequency matrix extends to 1.8 meters. So we need that connection. But they were making us be 2 meters apart. So we were losing those connections. And then by isolating us, by, you know, not being able to visit people or whatever. And we are social beings. So, but when you said, you know, do I get scared? I don't Yeah, I was.
Or live in fear, live in fear.
I did. I mean, December 2021, I got really poorly, I think just because of the amount of weight that it all carries, that we all carry. You know, none of us wanted to see this. We all want to live in a lovely life that we thought we had. You know, no one said, oh, you know, I'd like to go into this world where people think I'm a fruitcake. But yeah, I got really poorly, and I think it was my body saying, you've got to handle this in a different way. And I try now to live each day in gratitude of the small things. I mean, I think going back to those times, and for me, how I live now, I do it for my children. I do it for everybody's children, as we all do, I think. And I want to be able to look at my children in the eye and say, I did whatever I could. Maybe didn't get it all right, but I did it from the right place. And so many of us, you know, if we wanted to be, we could have kept it all to ourselves, sorted ourselves out. But we weren't. We were worried about other people. And, you know, so many people have stuck their heads above the parapet more than I have. I mean, you know, look, you've given up and things like that. But, you know, you even have people like, you know, Jackie Stone. You know, she fought for the truth to come out. And so many people lost everything for truth. And I now have to live for truth. And if that means that people don't want to be in my life, then so be it. You know, there was a period of time where I was angry with people. And I don't allow that now because it doesn't help anybody, but it's by people choosing or living in denial that is taking us further into this this world, which I'm really, really hopeful and feel that, you know, humanity has a spirit. And more people are becoming aware, and more people are just going, no. But if it's like the national strike in a couple of weeks' time, you know, everybody can do something. Everybody, every day. If you just shop local, you say hello to somebody. You know, as you're walking by, morning, make that connection. Smile at the people. Keep the connection. You know, stay happy. When I say stay happy, it doesn't mean fake happiness, but live in the now, because they want to keep you in the past and the future. They don't want you to live now and experience now really completely the joy of what living in the present is. You know, they changed our understanding of words, you know. How do I live now? There's a lady who, you know, there's a few people that have kept me going over the years, and there's a lady, she's a master astrologer called Pam Gregory.
Yeah, you've told me about her.
And I don't fully understand, because I haven't had a chance to really go into all astrology, but her energy, and she talks about, you know, I mean, I don't watch television anymore, and, you know, the news, you know, they want you to focus on that, but what's behind you? What else is going on? And she'll just say, get up on your eagle's perch, just get up on and be above that negative energy. And I just try and do that, you know, and try and
yeah, because they want you to be upset with Labour, or be upset with Reform, or vote, you know, support Trump, or get angry with the ICE agents, and that's you stuck now in their system. What you need to do is not get emotionally involved and engaged with any of these people. Like, just, they're all there to suck your energy and keep you distracted from what's really important.
It's also about, you have to choose a side.
Yeah, that's what they want you to do.
Why?
Exactly.
Why? Because I might like a bit of what they're saying and a bit of what's saying, and I just actually choose now to swim upstream in the middle. Why do I have to choose? No, sorry, I'm not choosing. And the more you see it, you see that they're all part of the same globally. You know, they're signalling and they're this and they're that. And you know, as much as I...
Take reform. They're recycling failed conservative politicians who had their chance and blew it. And now they're going over to reform because that's them they're going to fix it. I mean, it's just so ridiculous, the pantomime. But people are so desperate to believe and hope that, you know what, this party is going to save them when they're not.
Well, I can understand why they might feel that. You
No,
know,
absolutely.
People are really seeing that life is not how it should be.
But what I've said is, I did this post on X this morning. I said, look, the Reform Party is one of the biggest political psyops since the Brexit Party. It taps into real anger, real frustration, real despair, and it offers hopium. It promises change. It claims to be different. But when you strip away the branding, and it's the same thing. Globalist in nature, Zionist aligned, Britain last, pro-mass migration, big pharma compliant, pro-war, and Agenda 2030 friendly. And it's now staffed by recycled, failed Tory MPs and career political operators who already had their turn and blew it. It's just another pressure valve for dissent. The Reform Party's pressure valve for dissent. And what it does is, it's another way to capture the opposition energy and redirect it back into the system. And the tragedy is this, that most people are so deeply conditioned, in effect mind-controlled from birth, that they cannot see it. They mistake the performance for resistance, the branding for rebellion, the noise for truth. And you know what? That's how the PSYOP works.
So what we have to do, or what we need to look into and empower ourselves with, is get an understanding of our sovereignty and who we are. You know, and when you start finding out about natural law and maritime law and how, you know, they are a corporation and we have no contract with the corporation. And, you know, when they say it's mandatory and all these sorts of things, sorry, I have no contract with you. And people say, oh yeah, but you need law and order. Well, yeah, you do. And in natural law, the laws are very, very simple. And when it's based in truth and those sorts of things, it doesn't need to be complicated. People know what the laws are, where a lot of what we have, it's all just theatre and confusion. And, you know, there's, you know, we're told we can't do this and we can't do that. Well, why?
Wrapping you up in legalese, word salad, and garbage legislation, which oftentimes is the complete opposite of the intended aims and the opposite of natural law. I mean, it's very simple. Like you said, natural law, just the two essences, like, you know, do no harm, and then two, don't take any shit, you know, don't, you know, defend yourself. You have the right to defend yourself, you know, all that kind of stuff. And don't harm anyone else. Don't do anything that's going to be detrimental to anybody else. Don't steal from anybody. Don't physically, violently hurt anyone. Just all that kind of stuff. And it's that simple. And then, you know, laws and legislations just complicate matter. You don't need thousands and thousands of pieces of legislation to have a functioning society. That's just nonsense. That just makes life difficult for everybody.
And it's things, you know, if people understood what your birth certificate does, because, you know, you're born as a sovereign living man or living woman, and your birth certificate takes you into being a dead entity. And, you know, it's not a 5-minute conversation, and, you know, I'm still learning about it, but it's very empowering, and it gives you a strength, an inner strength. And the police know about it, the politicians, they know about it. And when you understand how it works, it comes from a very, very peaceful place. It's not about, oh, I'm sovereign and this kind of thing. It's you just have an inner knowing.
Right. I'd love you to lay out what the current dystopian trajectory looks like, because I want to make a nice clip of a nice middle-class English lady with her nice English accent explaining to people, because they'll be like, oh wow, check this lady out, what she's saying, you know, because for a lot of people, they don't really know what's going on. They know something's not right, but what are we genuinely concerned about? We're not living in fear anymore, but what is their agenda and plan, and, you know, what are they trying to do? And why is it important that we stand up to this and say no?
Well, I mean, it's a very long, drawn out thing, but it's fundamentally you have a few very, very powerful people who want to control the rest of the world, and they want. We're a commodity. We are now a commodity, and our data is what we're valuable for now. And people need to understand and wise up very, very quickly at how dangerous AI could be, and what it's doing to our children and these sorts of things. But they basically want or would like to take us to a time when we have nothing. Laws have been changed. Check out David Webb's Great Reset.
Great taking.
The Great Taking. Where they've changed all the laws globally. We might think we own our properties. We may have paid off our mortgages, but they can come and take them. So, when the World Economic Forum say, you will own nothing and you will be happy, they are telling you very clearly. So, I would just say to people, all your conspiracy theorist friends or things you've heard, look into it. Look into it. Don't be stuck in, oh no, that's rubbish, they wouldn't do this. Just look into it. What have you got to lose? Often it's people who've been talking like this who care about you. And they're caring about you because they see what's coming and they don't want you to be hurt. They don't want your family to be decimated by what is potentially planned, financially, food-wise, all sorts of things. Look into it, and look into the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the UN, NATO. Look into, take time. I mean, all of us who have an understanding, you don't just suddenly wake up. It comes from hours and hours and hours. It takes over your life of research, and it takes you into areas that you don't really want to know about, or you don't have an interest in, but you want to know, what is that law? What is that? And at this point, people need to start getting in the game. No one is coming to save us, you or anybody. You have to do it yourself. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. If all you do is question, that's a great start. If all you do is get to know who your neighbours are, be kind. Don't think about, oh, I've got to just look after me. God, if I thought about that, my life would have been so much easier in the last 6 years. Like everything you're doing, you could have just carried on, keep your head down, just get on and keep your thoughts yourself. But no, you want the truth. The people protesting all through 2020, 21, 22, 23, and still protesting that you'd never see on the news. All those people that week after week got out there on the streets. Everybody can do something. All you do is stop going to the supermarket as much or buying as much. Pretty much all my stuff now comes from local supplies. Yes, I still go to the supermarket for the odd things, but I'm learning, for example, I get my yogurt. But I'm going to start learning to make my yogurt. I haven't got there yet, but I with different things, where can you make a change? And it doesn't have to be difficult. Make it easy so you can do it consistently. But yeah, you need to do your own research. But question everything.
Great. That was perfect. Yeah, 100%. That's it. That's what people need to do. And the thing is, so going back to Jason Christoph and tying in then maybe with you a bit. So Jason said actually one of the most powerful tools to combat the mind control from authority and the government is actually reclaiming your health. Because one of the ways that they do the mind control is they poison you. Like they literally dumb you down. Your IQ goes down, your energy levels go down, you're sick, you're distracted, you're tired, you you're apathetic. You don't have.
Well, fundamentally, your body is living in a state of fight and flight.
Yep. Right. So you're not in a position to contemplate these things. But it's like, even another aspect was, you're talking about, your prefrontal cortex is what plans ahead, planning long term, and poisons and all of the toxins switch that off.
Calcifies.
So when you're not physically healthy, you get sick, your pineal gland gets calcified, you lose your connection with the divine. Now you're just in your hindbrain, your primordial brain, your fight or flight or freeze. So people freeze.
Yep.
Okay, they freeze, they run away, or it's just,
You can see it now because I've done some of behavioural work. I can see it when people. It's like I don't want to go there. The brain, you can see it in their eyes.
So this is what I mean. So like when you challenge someone and say, look, by the way, reform isn't the party that's going to save you. I'm just, people might think, why are you picking that? Because it's a good example. Like, they're not going to save you. And they they haven't got the brain power to compute and plan and think. It's just, they've been so poisoned. They just go, no, I'm voting. I don't want to vote Labour. That's it. And Jason was like, you need to be really physically healthy. You need to be eating proper food, drinking proper water, like not even have coffee, not have alcohol. All of this stuff drains your energy, your life force. And he talks about alcohol as well. It's like
poison.
It's a literal poison, Ahmed, and it's poisoning you and it's stopping you from fighting and resisting. And that's society-wide. Everybody's eating junk food, everybody's drinking water that's got drugs in it, basically, because the water treatment plants can't filter out the drugs. So you're drinking people's diuretics and heart drugs and oral contraceptive pills and whatever. So all of this is going to be damaging you and stopping you from resisting tyranny. So if people want to turn things around, get healthy, get fit. And that's interesting because that's a journey you've taken. Like you say to me all the time, Ahmed, I used to have a hang up because I'm not a doctor, I'm not medically qualified. But now you're more confident in talking about health and doing Marianne Naturally because you've realized in your own journey, actually, you don't need a doctor. You can be your own doctor. That's what I keep telling people.
Well, I mean, during the COVID thing, I did help with other things. However, what I realized is that I can help people because people don't know where to go when they're feeling poorly. And the medical system is such now that it's about, I always say a symptom is like your check engine light. And a pharmaceutical takes the bulb out of that light, doesn't get to the root cause. And people have abdicated the responsibility for, their lives, education, politically and health-wise. It's like, please help me, I don't know what to do. Well, in my health journey, I was very poorly. I was told, I wouldn't make old bones. I was told, I was just so poorly. I was told I needed a thyroidectomy, I'd need radiation. And then about 15 years ago, I was told I had stage 4 inflammatory breast cancer. But thankfully for me, because of my knowledge, and I was able to just go, because it's a tsunami that comes at you when the cancer word is used. I was able to just say, okay, and I went and had some medical thermal imaging, and it wasn't that at all. So I could have ended up with a double mastectomy and chemo and radiation.
Yeah, because just slow down a bit, because like stage 4 is quite serious. Like that means it's gone through the basal layer. That means it's gone to local nodes, and it's distal spread, and that's not a good prognosis to have. And that is going to be like mastectomy, axillary clearance, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, the whole shabam. But what a lot of people don't realize is that mammograms and even biopsies have got false positive and false negative rates.
I wouldn't have a mammogram again. No.
Yeah, why would you not have a mammogram again?
It's the science bit that gets me sometimes, but it's just the radiation from it, and it's not as accurate. Medical thermal imaging can find things 10 to 15 years before a mammogram would, and so much smaller. But it's also the squashing of the breast.
There's traumatic tissue damage, then irradiated.
And it affects cognitive health, dementia, things like that. It can bring that on. So no, I wouldn't. And also when you understand about, with the fasting and autophagy and mitochondrial dysfunction, if you live your life in the right way, it's not easy for disease and illness to get in. But it's not just diet, it's, and this is what I'm sharing with people, because I don't treat people. I want to empower people with the knowledge that I have. And in some ways, this is what's been overwhelming for me, because lots of it I just know. But I'm now having to explain it to people and explain the science of it. So lots of things I'm relearning. But when you explain to people by eating within a window and leaving at least 3 hours before you then sleep, going to bed at a sensible time, it then allows the body to do the detoxing work that it needs to do overnight. And then if you bring in circadian health, getting up in the morning and looking at the light, because the cortisol, when, about 3 o'clock in the morning, cortisol goes up and then it starts to go down. And you need to look at the light within 90 minutes of sunrise, because then the cortisol is going down. And that's why when people often feel like they've got a hangover or very drugged up if they wake up late, well, that's because you've missed, when the cortisol's up, if you wake up at the right time, you get this free energy boost that carries you through the day. And then the reason that circadian rhythm and mitochondrial health is so important is because those two, yes, lymphatic, nervous system, all those things are important, but circadian rhythm health and mitochondrial health, they affect every cell in every organ in every system of the body, so that the impact is huge. And it's such an easy way if you understand what it needs, what they need to be in balance. Well, it's a superpower. It's a superpower. And then, if you explain to people how, that our lights in our house in the evening, we need darkness. That's what we need as human beings, because then the melatonin's starting to come up to help you get into the sleep mode, to then get you ready for doing the work that the body needs to do overnight to keep the cells healthy. But then what do? We have the lights on at night. So we've extended the day. We have this 24-hour cycle, and the body has certain things it needs to do at different times. And if you mess with that by extending the daylight, then the body isn't able to get rid of the older cells or the cancerous cells. And so that's how illness and disease starts. And also when the melatonin's coming up at night to calm you, the cortisol comes back up, and the body's in this state of fight and flight. I mean, it's a lot more involved than that and that sort of thing, but I want people to understand and not just say, this is what you need to do, to understand why you need to do it. And I just felt last year, I'm here to share this with people. I'm here to help empower people. And it's been really scary to step off of my salary and, those sorts of things, and starting a business. And, I'd love to do it for nothing, because that's what I feel I should be doing. But unfortunately, I live in a world where we need money. And, learning how to do the social media and writing Substacks and editing and all these things, it's been so out of my comfort zone. But there's something in me that I have to do this. And I think it's like you had to do this. And it's bigger than me. I mean, I can be walking down a road, or I'm in, the other day I was in the supermarket and this lady was coughing in a way. And I went and told her about this bay leaf tea, mullein and bay leaf tea that she could make. And anyway, she went, really? And I told her about it. She went, that's so kind. And I you know, if I see someone, walking down the road.
Do you remember that time when we were coming back from the protest march and we were on the train and these kids had their AirPods in?
I know.
And you just like, I need to tell them.
I can't
And these little kids were like, who the heck is this?
But they got it.
They did get it. Folks, if you've enjoyed this conversation, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. This podcast survives because of listeners like you. If you want to hear the second half of this podcast, then please consider becoming a paid subscriber to continue supporting independent conversations. And if you want personalized support for your own health or those of your loved ones, then book a consultation. It's available at docmalik.com. Thanks for being part of this journey. I, Ahmed Malik, am a private civilian protected by the Geneva Convention. My Substack, social media posts and podcasts are my personal experiences, observations and opinions. This information is for educational purposes only. Although I am a doctor, I am not your doctor and I am not providing medical or legal advice to you or to the wider public. I am not licensed or registered with the GMC or any other licensing board. The responsibility for the interpretation, due diligence and use of the information from my Substack and my podcast lies with you, the viewer and or listener. Please do your research and use your discernment. It is not my intention to harass, intimidate, offend, defame, conspire, blackmail, coerce, or cause anxiety, alarm or distress to any man or woman, and the information presented here is done so with peaceful and honourable intentions. Enjoy, folks.